Good morning, everyone. So, any questions from previous topic? No? Okay. Let's continue with IAM. So, if you try to recap, what we have seen yesterday is how to create a user. Today, let us talk about how to create a group. So, and the last time, what we have done, this user was given a console access, AWS management console. In order to give this particular access, you know what are the options we have to enable while creating the user. Okay. And after that, what we have done, there are certain policies. We have different types of policy rights that we have discussed. Let us say, as part of IAM policy, so there are three types. One is AWS managed policy, another one is customer managed policy, and then we have inline policy. And last time we have seen how to attach this AWS managed policy to a user. And we have seen how to remove a policy for the user as well. These are the topics which I have covered in the previous session. In the current session, let us see how to create a group, and we will see how to create a customer managed policies as well. And we will see how to add a user to the group or how to remove the user from the group. These are the topics which I'm going to cover. After that, if time permits, I'll be talking about inline policy as well. Okay. If I go back here, let's go to IAM. Under this particular dashboard, we have a service called, or sorry, we have to call it as resource. There are certain technical terms. AWS is a cloud service provider. We know that. When you log into this particular AWS account, on the page you will see the home page. Technically, when you log into this particular AWS account, first you will see the home page. We call it as console home or console. We can call it as home page. It's up to you. After that, from here, we will navigate to the services. There are different services which are offered by AWS. You can search them and you can navigate to it. Or else, if you know the name of the service, you can just search from here. What happens? That particular page will get loaded, which is called as dashboard. Now, on this particular IAM service dashboard, on the left side panel, this particular panel, you will see the resources. Yesterday, we have talked about users resource and we have seen how to create a user. If you remember, we have this particular user and we have this user which was created. Now, let me show you how to create a group. I don't have any groups as of now. Let me create one. Here we can see an option called create group. Specify some name. Let us say I want to give as DevOps for now. And then here we can see this is optional. The next task, what is it? Add users to the group. While creating a group itself, if you want to add a user, you have to go through this particular option. And it is not mandate. It is an optional. Right now, in the current task, we have only 2 users. Do you want to add all of them? You can select like this. 2 out of 2 has been selected. Now, if you want a specific user to be added to the group, then you can select this. Out of 2 users, you have selected 1. Okay. And it is up to you. If you don't want to add it right now, just deselect this. And the next important thing is adding a permissions to the group. I told you yesterday, instead of adding a permissions to individual user, which becomes too complex to manage when the size of the organization is growing and you have different teams which needs different level of permissions. In those conditions, the best practice is all about creating a group. Whether you take any cloud or anywhere, whenever you hear a concept like group, always we have to prefer that. And then you have to add your users to the group so that you no need to manage the permissions individually to the user. If you attach a policy to the user, that's fine. That policy will be used only by that particular user. But if you attach a policy to the group, what are the users belongs to that particular group, everybody will have the same level of permissions. Okay. That's the advantage of using a group. Now let me scroll down and I will try to give some IAM read-only access for now. IAM read-only access. If you want to give any other permission, you can select that. It's up to you. IAM user change password. I told you that this particular option will get selected when you use that option. When you enable the checkbox of first sign in change password. Anyways, after this, create user group. Now the group has been created. As of now, there are no users who are part of this group. Permissions are defined. You have already attached one particular permission to this particular group. So permissions are defined. When you have created just now. This is the information of the group. Okay. Now, if I go inside it, there are no users. On this particular users tab of the group, you can see there is no users. There are no permissions. Oh, sorry. We already have one permission, right? My bad. There is a IAM read-only access permission. Okay. Now, if you look at this one and select that, this particular policy is attached to this group. That's what it is trying to say. Attach entities. To whom it is attached? Right now, it is only to the group. Okay. What type of policy it is? AWS managed policy. If you want to attach any other policy here to this particular group, you can go to add permissions, select the first one as of now. And then you can search for that particular group and you can give the access. Okay. Now, let me cancel this. Yeah. Okay, this particular part was done. What is it? If you look at the diagram, so we have attached one AWS managed policy to the group. We have seen how to create a group and how to attach a policy to the group. It is up to you whether you attach a policy while creating the group or after creating the group. We call it as post actions. Okay. It's not that mandate when you do that particular task. Anyways, if I go back to the users, now for this user, I have not attached any policy. I think yesterday I have removed it. Before I am closing the session, I think I have removed the permission which is attached to this particular user. Now, if I try to log into this from this user, for example, okay, I'll just do one thing. I'll open Cognito or Edge browser, AWS Managed Console, sign in. Here I have to select IAM. So we have to pass account ID and followed by username and the password. I think I remember the password. Let me give a try. I'm hoping so. This is the password. Yeah, I'm able to access. Done. But if I go to IAM service, I'll get permission denied. Technically, access denied, which means you don't have the enough permissions to access that particular resource or to do some actions on that resource. Okay, access in the sense what? At least to read. You even don't have that particular access. Okay, get action, list. Okay, list you can see list of different types, but you can say get, list, or we can say create. These kind of permissions are not given to my user. Fine. Let me resolve that as an administrator. What I will do now, the task is instead of assigning the permissions to this particular user, since this particular user, I think have not added, right? Okay. First, what I want to do is I want to add that particular way to tech stack user to this particular group. How to do that? Add user, select the user, and then add. That's it. Simple task it is. Okay. Now, now this user was given the permissions automatically. How I can prove that? If I refresh this particular page, you can see now, at least I'm able to see the MFA and this particular details. And if I go to users, I can see the user information. Done. Easy to manage. Okay. Now this particular user belongs to one group, but this user doesn't belongs to any group. And if I go to any other service, it will fail. For example, EC2. There is one service called EC2 in order to create virtual servers in the cloud. You can see everywhere it is access denied. You don't have permission even to list. Okay. You can see all of these are permissions denied, permissions denied. Nothing, you don't have any permission. If you want to give it, you can just specify. Simple. You can go to this particular attached policies, search for that EC2. Every service has its own permissions, policies. You can search with that particular name. You'll get the list. Among this, I don't want to give full access. Full access is like a super user access. Okay, on that particular service. For time being, I just want to give read-only access and say attached policy. You can see now this particular DevOps group is having two policies attached. One is for EC2 read-only and one is for IAM read-only. If any user is part of this particular group, he will get the same permissions. What does it mean? Now, if I refresh, you will see all the details. And if I go to instances and refresh, you can see no error because you have the permissions that are needed to list this particular data. Anyway, there is no instance here. You can ignore. But we are not getting any permissions denied error. Understood on any confusion part in this with the activity what we have done till now? We added this user to the group, for example. Now, in what conditions I have to go for attaching a policy to the user? When I learned about this particular group's concept, in certain conditions, we have to go for user, attaching a policy to the user. In what condition? Any guess? Any answers for this? You understood how to attach a policy to the group and the user. I've shown you what is the advantage of adding a permissions to the group by adding a user. But in certain conditions, we have to attach a policy to the user as well. In what conditions? Any guess?
Where you particular resource, I mean, if you need to authorize based on the user type.
Yeah. For example, in certain situations, not all the users, only that particular specific user has to perform some activity. Okay. Not all the members of that particular group, a certain member. So in those conditions, what you have to do, there is no other choice. You have to give that particular policy to a user, not to the group level. Okay. So you have to understand in what level of what is it? In what level I have to give the permissions? Is it a group level or user level? User level will be if you try to go for user level, only specific user will have the permissions. Okay. If you go to group level, multiple users will have the permissions. Only in this condition. Any other questions apart from this? Sorry, guys. Just a second. Yes. Sorry, guys. Yep. Any questions? No. Okay. Now let's say. Yep.
In real time, how it will be like? I mean, we will not go and create an user, right? Like
Forget about real time.
in
For now, just forget about real time. We are only talking about basics.
okay, yeah, got it. Thank you.
Real time, whether you use automation, whether you do it manually, or whether any script, the ultimate goal is in the backend, it will do the same task. So visually, we have to understand what are the steps, what are the options we have. Then only you can automate it, or else you can't. So that's the reason initially we will see the manual steps. Until then, forget about this real time and all these scenarios. I'm showing you the scenarios, right? This is sufficient to understand the real time requirements. How to handle this, that is the next level. Whether you do it manually in real time or whether you automate this, obviously we'll automate this. Means either we use Terraform or Cloud Formation template.
Mm.
That we'll discuss in the next level. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. No questions? Okay. Now, one more thing which I want to show you is if a user is not part of this group, simple. He'll not have the permissions what he has till now. For example, I'll not have not removed actually. If I go to users and if I select the user and you can see this permissions, here it is showing you not directly. Yesterday, if you remember, attached via, we used to see directly. What does it mean? The policy was attached to the user. That is called as directly. But here you can see how this user got this policy because he is part of the group. Which group it is? DevOps. Now this particular user is part of the DevOps group, which is having a policy called EC2 read-only policy. This particular user is part of this DevOps group, which is having a policy called read-only access. Okay. By looking at this information also, we can say whether this particular policy is attached to a user or he got it from any other group. This information you can see in the user level under the tab called permissions. Now this user belongs to which group? You can see under the groups tab. Okay. We'll talk about security credentials, last access, tags in the next level. Okay. Yeah. You can see attached policies to this group, this one and this one. Now let us go back to the use group. Let me remove this user from the group. Okay. Always remember, remove in the sense we are just detaching it. Add is nothing but attach and then detach. That's what we try to do. We are not deleting the user in a simple terminology. Now let's see how to create our own policies. What are the policies we have right now in AWS? Some policies are not satisfying our requirement on that particular service. I want to create my own policy. Now, the question which everybody will have is, if I need to create a policy, do I need to do any programming level or something like that? No. If you need to create a inline policy or customer managed policy, both of them, either customer managed policy or inline policy. There are two methods. Either we can use editor, we call it as visual editor, or we use JSON approach. Does anyone know what is the full form of JSON?
JavaScript object notation.
JavaScript object notation. Is it a programming or is it something a simple text file? So kind of a file.
I would say just payload as per my experience.
Okay.
Key and value pairs.
What does it mean? This JSON, YAML, XML. What are these actually? What they do exactly? Any idea? Common thing.
These are executable scripts wherein we can execute.
No, we can't execute. They are not executable script.
So
These will store the data in a different format. Okay. I want to store some data which might be used by my software or application or something. Okay. Or a tool. So I want to store some data. So where you will store some data, instead of storing in a plain text format, My program can read certain formats of data. Those are nothing but JSON, YAML, XML, or some other XYZ formats and all. So your program can read the JSON format and it can understand how the data is stored, whatever is needed for that particular tool or an application. Simple. Storing a data in a specific format, whatever we see in the JSON and YAML. Okay. So JavaScript object notation. Okay. It is not too complex here. It is pretty easy how to write a JSON file in AWS. Or if you're not comfortable with JSON initial stage, since we are newcomers to this particular concept and all, go for Visual Editor. No wrong with that. Okay. But remember, Visual Editor can be used only from the management console. The restriction is we can do this particular task only from the management console. But later on, if you are using any Terraform automation script, Terraform automation tool, or maybe some particular CI/CD pipelines and all, in those conditions, we can't use Visual Editor. Obviously, you have to go for JSON. Okay. Simple thing to remember for now. Either manual task or automated automation, technically. Which approach we have to use? JSON. Okay. So today or tomorrow, you have to learn JSON for sure. But for today, it is not that mandate. Okay. We can go with Visual Editor. Let's see how to create this. First, I will talk about customer managed policy. We will see how advantage it is. And then we will see what is inline policy. Okay. Any questions in this particular specific area? I'll give this particular diagram after the session was completed. Okay. You can use it, whatever we have discussed in the session. Okay. Now, how to create a policies, where we can see that option. In the IAM dashboard itself, we have a resource called policies. Here we can see both of them. What policies we can see here? You can see only AWS managed policy and customer managed policy. You can't see inline policies. First point to remember. From this particular page, which I've shown you just now, we can see only AWS managed policy and customer managed policies. Do remember this particular point. Now, create policy. You can see this option. As I told you, AWS managed policy, we cannot control them. We cannot create those kind of policies, or we cannot delete them, or we cannot modify them. Hope it is clear. Now, let's go to create. I told you, right, there are two options, either Visual Editor or JSON format. First, by default, it is showing you editor. Let me choose that. Why we have to choose initially Visual Editor is it is easy to manage to create a policy. First, it is asking you on which resource you want to create a policy. What does it mean? Let us say, I'll give you one scenario. Some particular identities on AWS wants to do some actions on IAM. Okay. So you have to create a policy for whom to do some actions on IAM. So which service have to select right now? IAM. Because I want to select the permissions, what to do, what not to do on this particular IAM service. So which one I have to select here? IAM. You can see, not other services, just IAM. Okay, you have chosen what service you want to provide the actions. Specify what actions can be performed on a specific resource in IAM. Now on this particular IAM, we have different resources, right? IAM is a service. Under that service, we have different resources. Do remember this particular point, different resources. What are those? Can someone tell me? Few of them, one or two, so that I will understand you have understood this concept. What are the resources we have in IAM service?
Users group, policies.
Users groups, exactly. Policies. Okay. What we are seeing right now. Okay. First thing that you have to understand, because writing a policy, that is so important to understand. Next, here you can see actions allowed. Why? Because the policy which I'm creating right now, what are the actions I am selecting? Those should be allowed. What does it mean? What about other actions? Let us say I have selected some 10 actions out of these, which is effect as allow. What does it mean?
Maybe some actions are by default restricted that not allowed, right?
Okay. Any other answers? Thank you.
Only these actions can be remaining
Only?
denied.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are the options you have selected here? Means you can say what are the actions you have selected here. You can perform only those. If I try to perform any other action, by default it is denied. Okay. Now, if I select deny in place of this, what will happen?
Those are not allowed actually, right? Whatever you
What
have
about
said.
others? What about other actions? I've selected few of them. Let us say 10 of the actions. You mean to say those are denied?
Yes,
Only
denied.
action will be denied. Remaining will be allowed.
Exactly. Reverse. Reverse of allow. So what are the actions you have selected? You cannot perform them. Rest of the actions are allowed. See, there could be a scenario, right? I want to create one policy, attach it to the group, so that in that particular group, everybody should not delete my resources. I'll select only delete, but he can perform any other actions: create, modify, update. I won't allow them. List, but I don't want to allow delete. In those conditions, what I will say, deny. Simple thing, right? To manage. Instead of creating a allow with lots of list, okay, what I will do, I'll create a deny, not to do that particular deletion task. Rest of the actions are allowed. As simple as it. Okay. I hope you got some particular idea of this particular task right now. What is this all about? Not completely, but still good amount of understanding. Next thing is manual actions or add action we have here. Okay. So you can just remove this one. Now, here we can see all IAM actions. Do you want to allow all of them? What does it mean? 39 out of 39 lists have been selected. List is one category, read is one category, write is one category, permissions management is one category, tagging is another category. So if you look at these categories right now, in each of them we have different amount of actions. Here we have 39, here we have 32, 66, 23, 16. Once you say this one, all the actions are selected. But technically that is a full access. We already have a IAM policy which is having a full access, right? So there is no point of creating it. I just want to say that. Okay. Now, I don't want to select all of them. Let me try to give only certain amount of permissions. What I want to go, I just want to discuss here. Let's see. Now, I want to give this particular user will not have access right now. If you see, yeah, I want to give him get account summary. Under IAM service, I want to give an action called get account summary. See, this is a learning path. If you don't know what permissions I need to give to that particular user to read this information, you can just check here. AWS is displaying what permission is needed to read this particular data or to see this particular data. Okay. Now, this particular user doesn't have this particular action. Let me give that. Let me search for that get account summary. Technically, get actions can be done from here. Get. You can see get account summary. Where is it? Uh, uh, um, okay, I'll search from here itself. Summary. I think it is here. Yeah, here it is. Done. That permission I've given. Fine. I want to give list users. What is it? List users. Okay, list will be seen here. You can see list users. I want to give list groups. Why? Because if I go to groups, I don't have a permission called list groups. So list groups. I want to give list policies. Why? Because if I go to policies, I don't have a permission. I want to give list policies. We can say for every action for different resource, we have different level of action. Okay. Let us, I want to say user policies. I want to see the group policies. Where is it? Hmm, we don't have it. List roles. Rows are not necessary since we have not discussed. Group policies, you can see. Okay. Account alias list. That's fine. List access keys. I just want to, a few of the options I'm selecting from here. You can see 8. Let us say if you don't know what is the purpose of this, you can see info. If you select that info, it will give you some description of this. Grant permissions to retrieve information about IAM entity usage, IAM quota in AWS account. That is all about get account summary. Okay. All the informations are displayed to you. The only thing is you have to understand which one is needed to enable. That you will gain based on the practice and the experience. That's all. Don't worry too much about it. Don't get hesitated. Okay, now I'm not able to understand what permissions I have to select. You are in the initial stage. Okay, select one by one and see what actions it is going to perform. This is all about list. Out of 35, I've selected only 8. If you want to select all of these particular actions under this list, you can just enable this checkbox. Simple. 39 out of 39 will get selected. I don't want to do that right now. So please. Next one is read. Do you want to give read all permissions? You can just give read. It's up to you. Let me try to give get group. Get and list. What is the difference? Any guess? And it is not mandated to answer. But if someone knows what is the difference between list groups and get group, simple difference actually. If you know, you can answer or else you can ignore. Get user, get policy. Any answers? I'll tell you. Here, for example, list in the sense list of users that you can see here. For example, I want to read the information of that user. What I will do, I'll select the user. It will go to that particular page, right? I can see the information of the user. To see the information of the individual user, you need to have get user access. List is to list all the users in that particular account. Get in the sense to read the information of individual user. Okay, that is all about it. So these are the few permissions which I've selected from read. This is sufficient for now to understand the concept. So out of these, I've selected only 3 plus 8 plus 3. These permissions 11. Understood here or any questions for now?
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Like, here we are providing access to, I mean, in the AWS, I mean, user level, account level actually, who can do what, who can view what, who can read, who can perform
Yes.
what actions, right?
Yes.
So in the real world scenario, basically, let's say, for example, we are onboarding one application into production, like how AWS will restrict the access based on the user's type. I mean, are we doing the same thing for application level as well in an AWS console for some other app?
So this is not, yeah, your application generally doesn't use a console access. Okay, we create a user. Okay, for that user, we will create some identity or we will say federation access. There are two scenarios here.
Mhm.
Do you know federation?
No, I'm not aware.
All right. Okay. So there is something called federation, or it depends upon the credentials type that you want to use. If you don't want to store any credentials in your application, but that application wants to access some resources on the AWS, we have to give the permission and authentication right. Okay. That is the first scenario. Now, for that particular application to provide authentication, first of all, either you have to create one user and we have to create a programmatical access, not console access for that user. I'll show you that later when I talk about roles. Now,
Okay.
that is one scenario. The problem with that scenario is you have to store some data, sensitive data inside that particular code of the application. Now, you say, I don't want this. My application wants to use some OIDC or SAML based authentication to AWS and retrieve some data of the services. Then we have to use federation. Here it is called as identity provider in AWS. We call it as identity providers. This option we have to use.
Okay.
Okay, this is not at all required in that particular scenario. But creating a policy is mandate everywhere. First, I talked about authentication to understand the basic concept. Now, after that is done, you have to attach a policy to that particular user or to that particular federated identity. Okay. So to do that, we are learning this one.
Okay.
Now here, everybody might have some question. If not, you can just ignore. If I want to give this particular permissions to a specific user, I don't want to give to all the users. You understood, right? Let us say you have some bunch of users in your organization. I created one policy and I've given some particular actions under that policy. We have defined some actions under that particular policy. Let me just write in a simple way to understand. See, guys, if you are not able to understand, please pause me. Or let us say you have not understood, so that I'll give a different example. Okay. Group of permissions, or let us say permissions. Okay. For the policy, what I've created, I have enabled some permissions. Done. Now, this particular policy, I can attach it to any user. Let's say, as an administrator, we have some bunch of users. Let us say user 1, user 2, and let us say there is a user 3. Okay. Okay. Now, unfortunately, your administrator has added this policy to all the users, maybe in the group level or individual user level. Forget about that concept right now. Now, what are the challenges we have? Everybody can perform all the actions, whatever you have defined in this policy. But in the policy level, I want to restrict that this particular policy should be, this particular permission should be executed only by a specific user. Though as administrator, you have attached it to users or a group. Okay. But this particular policy is defined in such a way that this has to be done only by a specific user. No other user should perform this action. How we are going to do that? Okay. Individual resource level. At that time, we can see the resource category. You should not select all. You should not select all. Here we have to go for specific. Why it is showing you group, policy, and user here, 3 categories? Any reason that you know? I'm talking about only user right now. When I say specific, user level, group level, policy level, it is showing you why. If someone knows, other people can ignore. This is the first time, right? You're learning. Okay. That is because in the permissions, what I've selected, I selected for user level, group level, and account level. You can see this policy level. That's the reason when I select resources for specific, it will show me 3 categories: group, policy, and user, because I've selected a permissions like that. In the user level, which user you want to allow, then you have to add a ARN. If you want to allow all of them in that particular category, any in this account. For a group level, I'll select any. For a policy level, I will select any. You can see here the ARN is this one. What is ARN? The first question which everybody will have when I say this particular word, ARN. Does anyone know?
Location.
Okay, sorry. AWS resource name. Okay. Every resource that is getting created in AWS, you take any resource under IAM or any other service, every resource that is getting created will have some unique name which is called as ARN, Azure Resource, sorry, AWS Resource Name. Okay. Now, under the group, if you have any specific group name, it will show you the group, but star in the sense what? Every group. That is all about any in this particular account. Policy, any. But here I want to attach this particular policy to a specific user. That is my main requirement. Others I want to give any. In those conditions, you should not select this. What you have to do? Attach ARN in this account or any account or other account. You can see there are three options: other account, any account. Okay. And then we have this account. Now it is in this account. Do you want to give any user? No. I have a specific user. Resource name path with name. Or you can give a name here. For example, the name is, I think it is way to tech stack. Way to tech stack. This user. If you see, I have that user, which I've logged in. Only to this user, I want to give this permission. So add. If you want to give another one, then you can go to text and you can add them as a list one by one. You can see one per each line. If you want to give multiple values, if you want to give single value, you can go ahead with this. Way to user. Okay. And then add. You can see this particular task is done. Specific user, not all of them. If you want to edit, you can edit from here. If you want to delete, you can delete from here. Understood or any confusion part in this category? You have understood this one. Have you understood this?
Yes, but for
Yeah.
user level access, right? The last one.
Okay.
What specifically we have created one user, so we have appended with that resource, right?
Yes.
So what if we have hundred of users? I mean, is
Obviously, you
this?
have to go to a group level, right?
I mean, for all 100 users, you need to specify individually. I mean, we will create a group and we will assign them to group, right? You mean to
Exactly.
say?
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Whenever you have in your mind like multiple people, always you have to pick up the point called group. That's it.
Okay.
But here the problem is, see, this is not about attaching a policy to a user or a group. For whatever the list of actions you have selected, the permissions. Okay. So do you want to add it to a specific resources? Do you want to give it to all the groups? What are these actions are you have selected? Do you want to give it to all the policies? Or do you want to give it, do you want to perform by all the users or not? But the policy can be attached to anyone. There is no restrictions on that. But though you have attached a policy to the user or a group, but what are the resources I've selected here, it can perform only that. Got the point, right? Little bit or
Yeah.
yeah. Done. What about others? Look at this
So
diagram.
suppose, hi Sudham,
Yes, please.
hello. Yeah, for suppose for group level, if I want to uh, give some permissions, so how we can do that? You are doing it user level, right?
No, if you want to do it at group level, just modify this one. Deselect this one, add ARNS, and then add the groups here to which you want to give them. I don't want to give it to
So
all the groups. I want to give it
so
to a
here
specific group.
so here we can have multiple users we can create right here.
Group I'm talking about. See, simple. I'll get to the point. What is this all about? For what are the permissions you have selected? Do you want to allow all the groups to do this action or not? If you want to allow all the groups, whatever I create in future, or what are the current groups I have in my account, do you want to give it to all of them? Say any. Then star. As of now, this policy is not attached to any group technically. But I'm saying that this policy can be used by all the groups. This particular policy, you can perform all the actions related to policy by all the policies, on all the policies. Then what are the permissions you have selected? I don't want to allow all the users to do that action, only specific user. You might
that means star means you allow to
every group,
and
every
okay,
policy.
got.
Star is a white card, you know, right? White card we call it
Okay.
as.
Yes.
Done. Any other questions from anyone? These are minute points, but that will decide in certain scenarios what you're going to do. Anyway, this is the first day, right? You'll get habituated to these concepts day by day. And then next, finally, give a name to the policy which you are trying to create. I would give a name, custom IAM read only access. Do not give spaces, as I said before. If you want to elaborate this, you can write a description. But description is not mandate, it is optional. And this is the policy which I'm trying to create on a service called IAM. I've selected access levels only list from read. Under this, we have subcategories. Different actions I've selected. But out of that, the levels what I've selected is from list and read. Resources are multiple. Okay. And finally, if you want to add some tags, I'll talk about this particular tag tomorrow. Okay. Finally, it is not mandate, it is optional. Okay. And then create. Now the policy got created. You can see view policy. Or if you want to list your customer created policy, customer managed policy, you can see. Out of this, which one I have created? Oh, forgot. Yeah, this one.
So,
Customer IAM, custom IAM read only access. This is what I've selected. Okay. You can see the details. When I've created, okay, what time I have edited, all this particular information will be available. If you want to see the JSON format of this particular policy, you can click on JSON. You can see this is the JSON format of it. I hope it is clear. Let us go to the next one. So, yeah. Let me try to attach this policy to the user. Okay. So I will go here, or you can go to the group and attach. Okay. First, I'll do one thing. We already have a group, right? Let me add a user to this group. First of all, let me add the permissions. I will remove this. I will attach policy which I have created. Attach. Done. Now let me add that user to this group. That's it. Done. Now if I go back to the dashboard, I should be able to read the data of the group. You can see users, I'm able to read, but I don't have a permissions to do these actions. For this, you need to have these permissions. List MFA device that I have not given, right? If you remember, you can see list access keys. I have not given them, but you are able to see list of users, but not some information. And if I go to roles, since I have not given the permissions, you will get access denied for sure, because I have not given anything related to roles. We'll talk about what is roles tomorrow. And we can see policies. Since I've given, you will be able to see the information. And if I go to any other options, it will fail. Simple. So what are the permission is given to you? You can perform only those. Fine. Let us understand resource we have selected specific, right? Okay. Let us see what does it mean. For that, I have to create one user to understand this concept. So for time being, what I will do is for this user itself, I will remove the administrative permissions for now. Okay. I will add this particular user to the group. Done. Okay. Now under this particular group, we have two users. Okay. Let me log into this user. But for the time being, if I need to log into this user, I forgot the password. Can we reset the password of this particular user of the management console? Yes, we can. Okay. You can see here under the user, we have security credentials tab. As an administrator, I'm doing this. Okay, manage console access. You can see reset password, auto generate password, or let us say custom password. I'll give one custom password. I cannot display it. User must create a new password as a next sign in. I don't want to select that. Okay, reset. Done. Now let me copy the URL. I'll go to Cognito. Because for V2 Tech Stack, I've already opened one browser. I should be able to log in. Done. So let me close this. Now my question is, if I go to IAM dashboard, will I able to read the information of the users? First question.
No, your login with respect to one user, right? Whatever the access you have, only you can read them.
Okay. Let me go to users. Then I'm able to see the list of users, right? If I go to groups, I'm able to see the groups. If I go to policies, I'm able to see the policies. Same, whatever this V2 Tech Stack user is doing. For example, where is this V2 Tech Stack user? Sorry. Here. Yeah. If I go to users group, same. Users, same. Roles, anyway, same. Policy, same.
I mean, in the real world scenario, can we see details of another user? I mean, it should be restricted, right?
That's what. That's the reason why I've discussed about that point. Anyway, it is access denied, right? Okay. Let me go to user. Another user. He is Sudham's, right? Let me go to way to tech stack. Am I able to see the policies of that user? No. Right? Restricted. Can I see the groups of that particular user? You can't. Done? Okay. Let me go to my user. Way to tech stack. Am I able to see the policies? No, right? Because we have not selected this one. So my question is, I'll tell you. Let me come back here. We created one policy. Let us try to recall. This is more of a task for you. If I go inside it, if you look at this IAM policy, I've selected only for specific user. What does it mean? Only this user should perform the actions related to this particular list users active. Get user, list user. Where is that list user? So can someone tell me any difference in these two? List users can be done by everybody. There is no restrictions over here. So every user can perform list actions. At least for the get user, okay, this particular only this user should do that action, right? Okay, so let me go to way to tech stack.
So
There is a way to
basically,
tech stack.
the
Yep.
resource.
Tell me.
Yeah, basically that resource wildcard, I'll say there's entries there, right? Basically, it says that anybody can uh, do that action.
Okay.
If you see the JSON format. Right?
Yeah.
The below.
So that point is valid. Yeah, exactly. So look at this one: list users, list groups, get account summary, list policies, list account aliases. Who can perform this? All of them. Every resource. But if you look at this one, get policy, get user, get group. Since I'm talking get group, every group it is. I can read the information of every group. Get policy, every policy I can read the information. But when I say get user, only way to tech stack user information can be read, not by any other user. Understood, right? What I'm trying to say. So to understand this concept, let me show you practically. First, I will go to way to tech stack. Okay. Now I can read my information. I can see the ARN, I can see the created, I can see access keys. This information I can read. Okay. Now, if I go to this particular user, what will happen? Let us see. I got access denied. Can you see this? Access denied. Fine. Now let me go back to this user. Where is that user? Yeah, Sudham's user. Now, if I go to Sudham's user and try to read the information of Sudham's user itself, I'm not even able to read my information. You can see this? The basic difference. I'm not even able to read this particular my information itself, ARN. But way to tech stack user is able to read that information of his user itself. Got the point? Or still confused? Everybody.
Sudham, if you create ARN for Sudham's user, so we can able to see. Right?
Exactly. He can. Let me show you that. Now I'll go back here. I'll modify this policy. Let's say edit. See, we are not creating a new one. Existing policy we are trying to update. Okay, edit. I'll do one thing. I'll copy paste one more line here. This is a JSON format. If you want to see visually, under this, I've already selected resources. Okay. Hey, where is this one? Yeah. So where is this? Yeah, edit. There's a text. Add here. Okay. What is another user?
So we can see any account, other accounts also we can restrict, right? I mean, there are
Yeah,
three
yeah.
options.
We can. For now, since we have only one account, I cannot show you practically that, right? That's the reason. Okay. Let me save the changes. Okay. Here there is one more important point. When you save the changes, here there is one option called set this new version as a default. What does it mean? Earlier, when you created a policy, we have some JSON data. Now we are modifying that particular data to the same policy. Now, what will happen? It will not override that particular policy, the JSON file. Old file will be there, new file will be there. Okay. But which one has to be picked when I use this policy? Whichever is the latest one, that will be picked by default because this option got selected. You understood, right? When you created a policy, there is a JSON file in the backend. We already have one JSON file. Now we are modifying it. What does it mean? A new JSON file will get created after this save changes are done. Now, which JSON file it will pick when I select that policy to the users and groups? Not this first one, second one, the latest one by default. Okay. So new version is as a default. Okay. If you don't want like that, you can deselect this checkbox. If you want to see how many versions we have in this policy file, 2 versions. New one is a default. You can see new one what we have added, Sudham's user as well. In the old one, you can see only way to tech stack. Understood, right? Any confusion part in this one? Maximum we can store only up to 5 versions for any customer managed policy. If you want to set this one as a default, you can set as a default. Now this one is a default one, latest one. The new version is a default. Any confusion part in this? No, I hope so, but still. Yeah. Let me go back here, go to users. Now way to tech stack user can access my details, can access some user details as well. Done. Now, if I go back to this user, if I refresh, technically refresh is not there. Let me go to Sudham's, my data itself. I can read now. I can read way to extract data as well. Now it got resolved. You understood, right? Or any confusion part? This always you'll get access denied. Why? Because we have not given this permission to anyone. Now the context, have you understood? When you select a specific resource in the policy, what exactly happens? No answers. Sorry, no acknowledgement. I am hoping so. You understood this. Maybe you have to practice. When you do it practically, you'll come up with the questions. Okay. So this is all about a basic approach of how to create a policy, customer managed policy. Since our time is not permitting, tomorrow we will see what is inline policy and we will see account settings. Yeah. This is all about today, how we have created our customer managed policy by using Visual Editor. Tomorrow I'll talk a little bit about JSON, how to create it from scratch, and we will see how to create an inline policy. And one question I will ask you, can we add a user to the multiple groups? A simple normal query questions. Can we
Yes.
add a user to multiple groups? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, done. So now, if a user is added to multiple groups, both are having different policies. Now, what this user will get? Will he get both the policies or one policy?
Both the
Anything.
boxes.
Both the policies. Okay. It is kind of an we call it as concatenation. What it does exactly. Yeah. For example, one group is having a deny policy for the same actions, and but one policy is of another group is having a allow policy, allow actions. Now this user is part of both the groups. What will happen? I'll summarize
Delete.
once again. Let me reframe it. Let us say we have one group, group A, where you have written some permissions as allow. Now we have another group. Okay, you have created some policy which is deny with the same permissions. What you have allowed here, here we have written as deny. Now this user is part of both the groups. What will happen?
The latest policy
Deny,
will be applied.
It should be a
deny will be
Not latest. Yeah, sorry.
deny will be applicable.
Any reason?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's like I read it somewhere time
And
back. 80.allow, 80.deny, and the deny have more priority than the allow.
That's what you have to say that one. Priority. Deny has more priority over allow for the permissions. That's a sentence what you have to use. Priority. When two are applied, the same permissions, allow and deny always will have high priority. Okay, that's how it works in the backend. That's a backend principle, right? How AWS treats a policy. Now got it right? Any questions?
Like these are all interview questions.
Yeah, these are all interview. Yeah. If they want to test your knowledge, this is enough. Yeah. Done. I'm deleting the policy now. If for a confirmation, it will ask you to type the policy name. Why it is asking you every time? Because AWS is ensuring that you're not just deleting it. You are just intentionally deleting it. Okay. Let me delete the user what I've created. No, let me keep it like that. Tomorrow I have one example, but meanwhile I will try to remove the policy. Nothing is attached. You're done. But you can see customer managed policy I have not deleted. Just oh, I have deleted. Fine. Again, we'll create tomorrow. No problem. I will log out from this user. Log out from this user as well. That's it, guys. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can stay back or we can wind up the session for today. I hope everyone is practicing the topics what we are discussing. Don't keep it for weekend or after some days. Okay. So don't say that I'm busy, I have other works and all. You cannot give that excuses because daily practice is so important. This is a vast syllabus. It's not just one tool you're learning or one service you're learning. Okay, then. Thank you. Thank you all.